All right, what's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and we are talking NASCAR DFS. We got the Homestead Miami Dixie vodka. Wait, no, Miami Dixie vodka. That's a vodka. I don't know what that means. 400 NASCAR race going on today. Draftkings, Fanduel, SuperDraft, and I have the DFS racing goat himself, Brady Miller, here with me. We're going to break down this race. What's up, Brady Miller?
Living the dream, brother, ready to attack this slate. It seems like this is the real start of the NASCAR season, so I'm excited.
Not so much for our two subscribers that won 56K last week.
That's right, yeah.
Mostly due to your prediction on this show that Christopher Bell was a reasonable bet to win the race. Wow. Great call.
Yeah, that's a good way to start the season. You know, it doesn't much matter this week, but it's good to be in that far in the black to start the season. Now we just got to stay in the black for the rest of the season. It'll be a good year.
Well, it does matter to me because I actually need the race winner again. So I'm hoping that we'll cover that here. Just between friends, amongst us, you know what I'm saying? Just amongst friends.
We'll see what we can dig up.
Let me know.
See what we can dig up.
I need to know. So let's talk a little bit about the Homestead. And what is it? Is Miami Dixie vodka? What is this? A brand of vodka? What is this?
Dixie vodka is a brand. It's Homestead Miami is the track.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Homestead Miami. And Dixie vodka is a brand of Dixie vodka that I have never heard of. So
yeah,
there we go. That's what's up. Okay, now I get it more. Miami, we're going to be in a little bit of warm weather down there.
Yeah, and the weather looks okay, I think.
Tell me about this track. Explain the dynamics of Homestead. It's a 1.5 mile track. Is there anything unique about this one, Brady?
Yeah, it's probably the most unique track, like 1.5 mile track that they go to. It's got progressive banking, high tire wear. The high line is the preferred line, and it's one of those tracks, one of the only tracks where the closer you get to the wall, the faster you go. But the closer you get to the wall, the more chance you have of hitting the wall, of course. So there's a real dance to it. It's a very unique track. It's a very fun track because if you're fast at the start of the run, it usually means you're going to be slow at the end of the run. So it's a real balance, and there is some aces on this course. It's almost a little road coursey because there's some guys that aren't necessarily relevant that will be relevant today because of their ability to run that high line.
Those are the names I want to know. So who are the drivers? So essentially in this track, it is a unique track in the sense that you got to get real close to that wall without smashing into the wall. So who are the drivers who are skilled at that particular skill set?
Hey, is that Taco jumping in?
Yeah, welcoming Taco to the stream. We got the full GOAT crew together. What's up, Taco?
What's up?
All right.
Hey, Taco. Yeah, so to answer your question, the answer to the question is Kyle Larson. He's the best at it. He's always been the best at it, and it's not particularly close. He runs the wall so well. He's incredible at it. The other one that comes to mind is Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick is very, very good at it. Up there with Kyle Larson. And then there's a couple other guys that kind of can flirt with it. But those are the two that stand out as like Homestead aces.
Now, I love those two, but what happens if I'm right in the wall? So do we give them an elevated crash risk because they do like to get inches from the wall? Like, have they smashed their cars up on this track frequently?
Kyle Larson does it, I would say, 90% of the time.
He ends up going into the wall.
Yeah.
Mostly it's a Noah Gragson thing. We absolutely saw that at the end of this last race.
He went in the wall, yeah, and he didn't go in the wall. I mean, Gragson crashed into boy David Starr, but right, he didn't hit the wall.
Yeah, but it's the type of thing you'd see him do.
Let's look at the track history of Kyle Larson because we're calling him an ace here. So let's really look at his track history here. I have it on screen, right? So in 2000.
Kevin, go to historical. Click on historical tab right there.
Yeah.
And then filter out just Kyle Larson.
Great way to do that. No, I don't know how to do that. Oh, no, I mean, you're putting me on the spot here, and I don't know how to do that. So, no, I'm not doing that. I don't know how to do it. But let's see.
Make a copy. That's how I do it.
I can say, so his finishes, the problem is his finishes aren't that great. So the last couple times it's 40th, 13th, 3rd, 2nd, and 5th. But in those races, 132 laps led, 145 laps led, 45 laps led, and then in 2019 he blew an engine, but he was competitive in that race too. He's unbelievable. He's absolutely unbelievable at this track. He gets in the wall. That's the problem. But even if he does, like the way I see this,
pick clear. Pick clear, and then Larson. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
The way I see this race playing out is Larson dominating, scrubbing the wall, and ending up finishing like 10th to 15th.
Yeah,
and still being in the optimal.
Does he make the optimal in that?
Same thing.
Does he make the optimal in that case? So, start, finish, right? So let's just look at his history here. 2019 went into the wall, crashed, but before that, it looks like he did make it to the end of each race for the most part. So he's completed the race, but maybe the wins. Now his equipment's a little bit better this year though than it had been in the past. So is that the double whammy of Kyle Larson here? Is that just the fact that he's in better equipment? Because I'm not seeing the win odds on Larson as high as good as you might think. Like he's 9.5x to win. A lot of other drivers, Brady, are favored higher than him. And
it's because of that, the risk associated with him hitting the wall. Because he'll hit the wall and it makes him normal. He'll have he'll be 0.2, 0.3 faster than everybody in the field in a long run. But as soon as he hits the wall, he just becomes another driver in the field.
Yeah, that's the problem. And so let me go real quick to this very interesting, my favorite page to always check out for every race. And Taco, you can help us a little out with this one, but I did a little analysis of this. So every single NASCAR race, guys, this is for everybody watching. Every time I do a NASCAR race, the first thing I look at is I try to understand what's going to happen with the scrubs, because can we build a stars and scrubs approach or not? And
the last 2 weeks, yes. This week, no.
It does not look good for the scrubs, dude. So the two charts that I look at, number one is finish by driver rating, right? And the lower the driver rating on this one, it's very clear. Good drivers make their way up to the top. Bad drivers don't. It's just gross. Like the cheapies, 19 points, 22 points, 23, 21. So it is very clear that this is a track where your car power, the speed comes through. Why is that? Why is Homestead so beneficial to just good cars?
Well, there are a whole bunch more laps this week than the previous 2 weeks, and usually the more laps there are, the better the top tier cars do. And of course, Daytona, of course, it's just a wild ride, lots of carnage to be expected. And at these 1.5 mile tracks, it's a little more true to form.
Not much.
Guys, the best equipment have the potential to put up all the fast points or fast laps and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say not much carnage here, not carnage the way that we see at the road race or at Daytona. And also, I think part of it is it's a really wide track. So if you're good, you're just going to pass really quickly. It's not like you can be blocked all that easily. Homestead is very wide, and you could kind of ride a lot of different. I guess if you're in the back, like Kyle Busch starting 24th, do we expect him to fly up pretty quickly just because there's plenty of space to get through?
Yeah, he'll be able to navigate his way through.
He should be pretty solid.
Something like him.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So the dynamic of this race for me, guys, and I've been looking over kind of the way that the Draftkings and everything and all the formats come together. And let me see. Oh, of course, I didn't open the.
Really, the same 10 guys in the top 10 in this race from year to year.
Let me go back to this here on the research station. But yeah, when you look at the finishes, the track history here, it's just very obvious. I use this stuff. It's very clear to me. You kind of see, all right, the good drivers are finishing in the top 10. Like, it's just very common. And if you look at the finishes, Kyle Busch has done really well here. Truex has done well. Chase Elliott has done well. Good drivers do well.
Playoff Logano.
All of them. So that's created for me an interesting dynamic in making lineups, because I think it's hard to predict. So let's start with
It's
this.
a little bit different because this was the championship race for years and years. So of course the top guys were all like a lot of the track history for these guys are like, especially for like the scrubs and stuff. This race, someone that's way out of the playoffs usually just going to keep their nose down. Last year's the first year's regular season race, so it might be a little different in its race historically.
That will add an extra sketchy situation, I think, to the whole thing. But let me jump onto the Dom station. I want to kind of show where some of the place differential plays seem to be, because those are always really important. So taking a look at the actual projections and the drivers here, you've got starting in the back, Matt DiBenedetto starting 37th, lots of place differential. Tyler Reddick, who you guys mentioned is a really good Homestead driver, starting 35th, 8,500. I mean, lock button play if he fit. If Tyler Reddick, let's start with this. If Tyler Reddick finishes this race, is he in the nuts?
I mean, yeah,
probably, yeah. He's like, if Kyle Larson on a long run is 0.3 faster than the entire field, he'll be at 0.3 faster than Tyler Reddick, who's 0.2 faster than the entire field. Like he's very, very good, but it's the same risk. Like, is he going to touch the wall and make himself normal?
It's important to understand that, though. When you're making a lineup for this, basically, Tyler Reddick has there's two things that are going to happen. Maybe I'll add a third possibility. The two possibilities are, number one, he's in the nuts, one way or the other. He finishes the race, he's in the nuts. Second is he crashes in the wall and is out and hurts your lineup. And the third is, and this is a possibility it's always a possibility, he gets banged up, and I kind of consider that crashing, and then kind of tools his way around and finishes at the back. But he hits the wall, but doesn't get knocked out. But hitting the wall is hitting the wall. If this car stays healthy,
it'd be fine if he has like 40 plus fast laps again.
Well, there you go. So if this car stays healthy throughout this race, it's going to be the nuts. So it's a really interesting tournament. I guess consideration here. How much Reddick do you play out of 150 lineups? What are the odds of him crashing and destroying your lineups versus what are the odds of him finishing the race and he's probably in the nuts? He's like 80% chance in the nuts as long as he gets to the end. So what an interesting decision to make in terms of how much Larson to use, Reddick to use in this race. And Taco, how much Reddick should I use?
I'm using about 75% Reddick. I want to use all of them. Of course, there's that inherent chance of him hitting the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, he won both his championship races here. He's one of the only guys in the field that raced last night. It did really well. Only getting beat by his own car.
Well, at least he got the practice in. I do like that. So let's continue down this group of super studs here. Ross Chastain, another guy, I don't know, super stud. He's pretty good. What kind of equipment is Ross Chastain in, Brady?
And Kyle Larson. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No. Taco knows as well as anyone. It's Kyle Larson's car from last year.
That's a good car.
It's dominated this race year over year, but that has a lot more to do with Kyle Larson. Ross Chastain won't be as competitive as Kyle Larson was in this car, but it's a top 13 to 15 car every week. It's a good car, and Ross Chastain is decent at Homestead.
That's all you need. He's starting 32nd. It's the salary, guys. It's 7,400. There aren't super turds that you could fit in your lineups this week, so you have to. I'm going to be loaded up on these types of guys, especially.
You're missing out on the best play. You have Quinn Half unchecked.
What? Should I check Quinn Half back in?
It's really, really sad, but this week there's such a lack in value of play. You almost have to use.
You're
Quinn
just playing
Half.
the guy
so
starting last.
Sad.
Is it? I should because he's starting last, and he's going to move
just
past.
Because there are like 15 scrubs at the bottom, and he's just the one that's in the very, very back, and he maybe doesn't deserve to be at the very, very, very back. But
isn't it funny that you guys are getting a window?
It's so rough to find value this week compared to most weeks. It's insane, actually.
You guys are getting a window into my settings. Like somebody just asked, what settings do you use in the Dom station? I was like, Dawson, bruh. You're literally looking at my Dom station right now. What do you want? The only consideration on your Dom station settings here is one or two uniques, and that is a personal preference thing. The way I wind up doing it is I'll just like see what it looks like with one. I might pop a second unique on there if I'm not getting enough variety going on. But it's one or two.
Use randomization, not uniques.
Oh, you like to use randomization, so yeah, you could do that too. Again, at the end of the run, and the randomization is good because it's gonna like mix a. When you have a 41.9, like, is there really a difference between Chase Briscoe and Ross Chastain?
I do two uniques, maybe like Daytona or something. If you're doing 100 plus,
do you do one unique for this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So Briscoe.
I just use too much the same place.
Briscoe versus Chastain, same-ish price. Same-ish play or no? What's the story with Chase Briscoe? Brady.
Briscoe is the defending. No, he's not the Xfinity champion, but he won eight or so races last year in the Xfinity Series, and he took over for Clint Boyer. So it's a good driver and a good car. I've been a little discouraged by. I know you can't take a lot away from Daytona races on the road course and the plate rate, but he looks uncomfortable in that car so far. It looks like he's still getting his bearings. He spun a lot last week. He wasn't ultra competitive at Daytona on the plate race. It's a good play, obviously. Like, it's an elite car starting 30th. Chase Briscoe has won at Homestead, I believe. I think he won in the Xfinity Series 2 years ago. But the thing that scares me is he just looks uncomfortable in the Cup Series so far. I think I prefer Ross Chastain over Chase Briscoe, to be honest.
Such a tough call because how do you judge the road track and Daytona? There's such different races compared to you. Daniel Blake won $900 on a sports book on your call last week, so he did really well with the bell call. Love that. All right, so Chase Briscoe, we got Willie Byron here again, 31, starting 31st. Willie Byron's one of my go-to guys every week, just in general. He's like Matt DiBitetto. Him and those two guys are kind of go-tos for me on the regular, and he's priced pretty well. Or actually, he's not priced all that well, but he's starting in the back. Really good place differential possibility. But is he too expensive for this race? Like with Chastain and Briscoe hanging out and Reddick, do we really need a Byron or kind of such a heavy focus on the play stiff guys? And can I play all of these guys together maybe in cash?
It's really, really hard to not use Ross Chastain and Chase Briscoe with how salaries have worked out. And I'm finding out that it's super hard to get Kyle Busch. The expensive guys are really, really hard to get to this week because like the 6K range is like dead as a doorknob.
I'll just show you what
value goes on the slate.
Look what it looks like when I run it. Just because I made a few minor adjustments, but like you're getting 100% Reddick, Bubba Wallace popping quite a bit, Austin Dillon, Matt DiBitetto, Chastain, Briscoe, and Bubba Wallace popping quite a bit from 19th place. And then you start to get, all right, I had to raise up Kyle Busch massively to get any kind of exposure. Kyle Larson the guy who was popping up the most for me is Denny Hamlin. I want to talk about him and how much Denny Hamlin exposure we need as well. And then you have these all of the other studly guys, right? Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott. And it's like, I think this is where the race will be won or lost, but I don't know which one to load up on.
You got to fight hard to get Elliott in there.
Elliott's not showing up unless you force him in. And it's like, do I want to?
Well, he did dominate a bit here for the first time ever last season.
I think it could be anyone. I really think we don't know who the Dominator is.
I noticed that Elliott, Truex, and Hamlin all seemed to race better at these like late afternoon night races last season. And this is one of those where we saw Hamlin, we saw Elliott be really fast.
I will say,
yes, I set max exposure. Look at my screen, bro. Look at the screen. I set max exposures individually on every driver. If your question is, do I set a universal max exposure? No, I never do that in any sport ever, and I don't think anybody should ever do it. I set my max exposures specific to the individual player or to the individual driver. I don't. There's no shortcuts to DFS. This is a question that comes up. Everybody tries to take it. There isn't a shortcut, guys. You have to figure out each driver. I go to Taco sheet. I go to Brady sheet. I go to Larkin sheet. I go to Nilly sheet. I read all of that stuff, and then I'm making decisions. How much exposure do I want to each specific driver? I don't do it as universal, ever. But like I said, yeah, I've got maxes on everybody because if you don't set a max, for example, on Denny Hamlin, he's just going to be like 40-50% owned. Now, why is that? Taco, what's going on with Denny Hamlin? He is a little cheaper than the other stud drivers. He's starting on the pole. He's a really good driver. If I just leave him in there, he's going to pop 44%. I feel like I don't want to do that. Am I crazy?
So everyone knows that like Reddick and Larson, they stick out as guys who are great at riding the wall. Denny Hamlin, not as many people really realize this, I guess, but Denny Hamlin's also extremely good at just that. I think Joey Logano too. Kind of just goes under the radar. But Hamlin should lead this race very easily. If you look at the guys who are starting right behind him, it should be pretty uncontested. Logano is his only real threat, and then Harvick. Guys like Kurt Busch, Mike McDowell. I can't say Christopher Bell after last week, of course, but Ryan Preece. A lot of guys starting up here that I don't really see pushing all for it. Maybe Truex after a while, but Truex more of your stage 2 or 3 dominator.
But I mean, even if Denny gets
easily see Hamlin leading a large chunk of this race, and he's also one of the best at keeping his car clean, managing his equipment, managing his tires, and just running a clean long-run race.
Denny on the pole. I like to fade the pole sitter. That's a thing I like to do. But Denny on the pole, he's probably going to lead Brady for the first. He could lead this all the way up until maybe certainly until the first pit stop, but maybe until he could get that first 40. When's the competition caution, or do they have those?
I don't think there is one today. I'll double check that here in a second. But on Denny Hamlin, I had a note on Will Byron written down here too. I'll get to in a second. But on Denny Hamlin, he's the best race manager in the entire circuit. It's not close. So he'll get out front here early, and it'll be a boring race probably for the first stage. He'll just set a pace. He'll be a second and a half ahead of second place until probably Larson gets there. And then he'll run in second to Larson until he hits the wall and probably take over the lead again. I'm pretty high on Denny Hamlin. He'll manage the race. He'll set a pace that nobody can really make a play at him. And I think Denny Hamlin's a really good play. A quick note I wanted to say on William Byron, just the way, and Kevin, you know this, and Taka, you know this, but without going into specific, the way that most optimization software works in the industry, in like max entry stuff where people use optimizers a lot, William Byron won't be showing up a lot in optimizer. He's just too expensive versus the value. So I think you can steal a lot of cheap leverage on William Byron in those like 150 max entry things, because optimizers aren't going to show him. And
because he's right here amongst the people who have the same kind of outlook for cheaper. Exactly.
But Byron is he's starting 31st, elite equipment. I think he's won here in the Truck Series. He's run well here all the time. I mean, he's a really good play, and he's not going to pop a lot in optimization software. So I think if you're playing those max entries, you can steal some really cheap leverage on him.
There we go. I like sound of that. And let me go back up to the stud group up here. So it looks like the only real threats, I guess you could call Logano a threat early, but Kevin Harvick's looming in 4th place as a potential threat. So if Kevin Harvick comes out and does Kevin Harvick things, right? Let's say Kevin Harvick comes out, and he's that version of Kevin Harvick that leads for like 280 laps and just destroys the field, which happens once in a while.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens like a lot, right? But you never know when. I don't think I'd want Hamlin and Harvick in the same lineup together. If I'm gonna,
I do.
You do. So you think
absolutely
even together they can.
Don't let the last few weeks get it twisted. You can absolutely have many guys starting in the top 10. Whoever dominates. Yeah,
you just have to get lucky and basically choose the dominator is what you're saying. Like it's more of a salary thing. I guess it's not so much with Hamlin, because Hamlin will dominate a little bit early, and
it's
probably
not an at most dominator setting week. It's an at least.
Yeah,
at least one. But there's no point in limiting dominators. You could have the top 3 guys all lead laps, and they're going to be the guys you need.
Let's talk about some of these middling guys real quick. So in that. Of course, we like the Briscoes and the guys starting 30th and behind that are good. What about, all right, Bubba's popping a lot for me. He's got a new car, good equipment, and he just seems like the buzz driver right now.
Bubba might just have a JGR car. Who knows? We'll figure. This is a good litmus test week for guys like him and Eric Jones to see how fast they're actually going to be. We kind of saw that in Xfinity.
What's the change with Eric Jones?
The real speed.
What happened?
Eric Jones is in the He's in the Richard Petty 43 car, Bubba Wallace's old car.
That's not a great car, man. That sounds like a
Yeah.
crap car.
Yeah.
Daniel Suarez kind of fits under that as well. We don't really know what he's working with.
I checked him.
Absolutely.
So you can see my checks and
Another
my
good one.
unchecks. Taco, do I have any mistakes here on who I unchecked?
Yeah, you unchecked Quinn Health, the base 38th place
Well,
guy that you need.
I put his garbage back in my lineup because of you. Only because of you forcing me to. But did I
Instead of Max?
not? No, he's not popping. He's not popping in.
Yeah,
I just ran it, and he's still not popping like crazy, which is fine. What about Colo? Corey LaJoy. I like him. He's one of these guys I always go to.
He's not. He's in even worse equipment than he's been. Inspire equipment. Another guy that we're gonna see how he does, but I'm not too optimistic on, especially starting like 25th.
Now, a big name that's popping here is Anthony Fefo Alfredo.
Another guy.
I don't know what to do with this.
What was David Reagan's car? A 38.
David
So
Reagan's
basically
car.
like Michael McDowell's equipment, but he's also like, a rookie.
He's super, super green. Like he has less than 50 NASCAR starts total. I think.
If it was an iRacing star, I'd be way more likely to use him.
If I do iRacing and I'm awesome, can I get into NASCAR also?
I mean, that's exactly
William
how
Byron did.
Anthony Alfredo got here.
So you're saying if I'm good at the video game version of NASCAR, there's a chance I could become a real NASCAR driver.
And you have a rich father that helps.
What? I don't have that, but like, what if I'm awesome at video games? I'm just trying to see if I can then new career. I'll fucking play NASCAR racing, for the next 6 months nonstop, 24/7. Get to the best. Be driving in the Xfinity Series.
Ty Majeski showed that you don't need the best equipment in the world to do that. So there's definitely an quality and opportunity there, I guess, when it comes to that.
How much does it cost to get a good iRacing car? No, forget it. Let's get into this race. What are we doing? All right. So Fefo Alfredo, right? What are we doing with him? Starting 27th. Am I forcing him into some lineup? I can almost barely make lineups.
You're going to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't make lineups without him.
This is why I have Quinn Health checked, because if you just sort it by value, you'll notice that after like Chastain, guys like that, there's such a lack. No, just sort it by price, straight up price. You're going to see this gigantic dead zone.
Oh, it turns into a disaster.
Right in the 6K range.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
Newman is like a last stand play, and then
somebody's asking
you get to Alfredo, and there's nothing. It's a void of value.
Somebody's asking about Newman right here, and he is popping quite a bit. Newman, you know what's interesting about Newman? He's cheap though, right? He's starting 23rd. I don't think he's going to go very far forward. But
compared to like Buescher starting 12th, McDowell starting 6th, Priest starting 8th, he seems really appealing.
I'm getting a lot of him. I think if he just hangs out,
I'm kind of low key interested in that Cole Custer starting 10th.
No, stop.
That's
where you're going to go, and that's going to be the thing that wins. Hold on.
Well, I mean, why not?
I don't know.
Custer's very good at this type of track, and
all right, Newman starting 23rd. Let's say he finishes 20th, right?
Mm-hmm.
27. It's not great, man. It's not great. He's gonna have to get to about 17th. He'll get you 33.
He'll finish between 20th and 15th.
Yeah,
that's very Newman-esque.
It's not the best. Like none of these are good plays.
As when Custer can top 10.
Wait, let's check Quinn Hoff real quick. Your play. Now he starts 30th. I'm going to
We're talking about him finishing 31st.
Yeah, 31st. What does he score? Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
21st would be insane.
Yeah, 21st would be great. 31st. Yeah, he only gets you 20. The value isn't great. I mean, your best case scenario is 30th.
The reason you would play health, the only reason you would play health is
multiple dominators.
So like I said, whoever dominates up top, you're going to need no matter what. If that ends up being Kyle Busch in any way or like a Chase Elliott, he might be the only play that allows you to fit some of the guys up top, honestly.
Checking Alfredo, Fefo.
I don't think you need a triple dip
No, I'm just saying I'm not
yeah.
building a lineup. I just like to look at all right,
yeah.
what's the potential for this guy, right? Brady, 27 points. Does that get me in the nuts? Like, where can Alfredo realistically finish this race?
That's about right.
The second would be
22nd
on the higher side of what he'd finish, I'm sure.
Or likely something like this. So these are that's
His
where
range of outcomes are pretty wide.
You could be fighting with a Quinn Hoff or an Anthony Alfredo and this kind of low crapola score for the final.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about
also like Busher or something,
he's not
much comparison.
No, because he's going backwards.
Most of the plays in this entire range, Stenhouse, Custer, Eric Jones, they've just got such a limited upside because they're starting just so freaking high.
About Bubba, let's see. I'm getting a lot of Bubba. So what's the best case scenario for Bubba? And then we'll go into who we think are going to win.
He wins.
Yeah, he can win.
He could win?
He could,
best case.
What's a likely scenario?
For him
It's the 10th place somehow by a miracle?
I wouldn't be surprised by top 10. Top 10 is, I would say, probable.
Okay, so there you go.
Very
so
probable.
Bubba, very playable, starting 19th, could get a top 10 finish. One other car that you guys have said is criminally underpriced. I was reading, Brady, in your notes. You said this guy is criminally under. Was that Bubba? Was that Bubba who you were talking about in your notes? Hang on.
I think it was Bubba. I did in my notes. I said I don't think we'll get an opportunity to play Bubba at less than 8,000 very often.
Yeah. So last year I played him at fucking 5K and 6K all the time. So he's in a better car this year. So
Much better.
Yeah. There we go. Now, a couple of comments from the commenters. Bobby Flaxa is saying, basically NASCAR is arcade games.
It's a jukebox now.
And then he says, I need to take care of my skin. I don't even know. I have to talk to my
dermatology up.
We could get a sponsor.
He says, I'm too light skinned. Well, there we go. Favorite 6K, sub 6K guy. Guys, favorite sub 6K guy? I'm Taco. I'll start with you.
Oh, good lord!
I mean, is it Fefo? Is it Quinn Hoff? Is it Hoff or Alfredo?
There's only Alfredo.
There's only two under 6K guys. Maybe Suarez at 21. Let's Suarez. Any interest? Yeah,
maybe, but starting 21st, it's so hard.
Isn't he in a better car? Isn't he in a better car than he's been?
Trackhouse, yeah. This is a week we're gonna see what he's made out of, but yeah, I mean, it couldn't be anywhere as bad as Gallant Racing equipment last year. It's 350 to 1. It's not terribly appealing.
Brady, favorite sub 6K.
Yeah, I agree with Alfredo. If you really if you're playing with fun money, if you've got that leftover Christopher Bell money and you just want to take a shot, you can take a look at Corey LaJoie. I think this car is a little better than people are giving it credit for. It has an influx of cash with the BJ McLeod and Matt Tiff thing going on. They've had some sponsorship. Corey LaJoie is a good driver. I think he can run top 25 all day. And in a slate as desperate as this, I don't mind taking a little chance on it. But Anthony Alfredo is about the only one you can feel good about.
And I don't feel that good about that. But I like my nickname for him, Fefo. Because I had a buddy, Alfredo, back in the day, and we called him Fefo. And I think that's just like a Brooklyn nickname for Alfredo. And
on Daniel Suarez, they have an alliance with RCR, I believe. So if they're getting RCR cars, then
RCR looks really good here, obviously.
Wait, Suarez.
Suarez,
you said Suarez, yeah, because they're getting slightly better equipment. Suarez was a turd last year because he got the bad equipment. I like it when drivers switch and they're still priced like they're in their crappy equipment. That seems like what's going on with Bubba. Like DraftKings takes a minute to figure out, oh, wait a minute, he's not the crappy Bubba from last year. That's the inside info that I want. Like that year when Almirola stepped up his equipment and all of a sudden he was winning everything and he was still being priced like a super turd. That's the stuff still, yeah, a little bit. They still price him that way.
I think it'll take about 3 weeks and you'll see Bubba being priced up in the 8,000s about every week. It's a Joe Gibbs car.
The Big Mac King is talking about Kyle Busch, seemingly in a good mood on Twitter. Maybe he'll finish the race. We didn't talk a lot about Kyle Busch. He's starting, normally if you give me Kyle Busch starting 24th in any kind of a race, especially one that he's had some good history in, I'm like all in.
Extremely good history,
yeah.
But again, he's always in the championship 4. So
this race is going to come down like this, guys. I don't think, and I'm going to ask you in a second what your win predictions are, but I think here's the dynamic. We don't know who's going to dominate this thing. It's going to be hard to predict, but one of these guys, one of the Kyle Busch, the Kevin Harvicks, the Hamlin probably going to dominate some. Maybe Logano, somebody's going to sneak in there. Chase Elliott out of nowhere. One of these guys is going to sneak up into first and is going to take over and dominate, and you're going to be like, oh man, I wish I had more of him. It could be Kevin Harvick. It could be any one of the studs. Yeah, even Blaney. Blaney is that one that you're not going to have, and you're like, oh shit, I played everybody. But you're going to have Blaney. All right. So, Brady, I'll start with you. Give me 2 names, predictions of who you think are likely to dominate for a long period of time and potentially win this race. Give me 2 guys who are your 2 favorites to dominate for a good portion and possibly win.
Larson for sure. I think Larson will lead 100 laps. Honestly, like he's
love Larson here. Okay.
He's so good. Yeah, like
you have to. This is Larson track of all Larson tracks.
He's just
king of the Big Macs, man. You got to get to the beginning of this. This is definitely not stars and scrubs. You want to try to get place differential and stars kind of approach. That Chastain, we call Chastain and Briscoe scrubs. Those guys aren't scrubs to me. Those are play stiffs.
Yeah. So Larson, I think he leads 100 laps. I don't know if he wins. I think it's so hard for him to do what he does for 250 clean laps or however many laps this race is. I think it's 250 or 240 or something.
So you think Larson will lead for a while and then crash into the wall and be a disaster?
I don't think he'll crash. I just think he'll get into the wall and slow himself down and end up finishing like 8th or 10th or something like that. It just seems like the most likely scenario for me.
And give me a second one. Is it Denny Hamlin, or do you have like a prediction with Chase, Harvick, Kyle Busch, one of those alternate guys?
I think Denny Hamlin will lead most of the first stage. He'll just manage the race, set a pace. Larson will get by him towards the end of the first or the start of the second stage, and Hamlin will just hang around in the top 5 and be there at the end when Larson makes a mistake. So I think Hamlin is a good play. I'm not as bullish on Kevin Harvick, but I mean, I'd be stupid to sit here and say that he's a bad play because he dominates so often. But Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin are my 2 most likely dominators.
Larson and Hamlin. How about you, Taco? If it's not Larson or Hamlin for you, you have to pick some alternatives. Or if you like both of those 2 the same, you could go there with it.
I'm feeling the Larson atonement race to end Black History Month. Of course, this is like the perfect track for him. I see Hamlin, like, I very much see Hamlin as like the man dominator, at least for the first like half of the race. And then I don't think we've talked about Martin Truex Jr. yet.
He won't be owned, by the way. I know you have him at 30%. I just don't think so.
He needs to be, though. Like, it'd be kind of crazy if people don't have him at least that much.
I don't think they will. I don't think he's going to be on. So your alternate, going away from Hamlin, going away from Larson, would be like a Truex Jr. coming out of nowhere late to dominate and win the race. Usually when day turns to night, darkness.
All about Truex here.
What about Keselowski with the pit strategy on a weird tires track?
Keselowski, I think I'm very confident in saying he's going to run at like 5th or 6th or 7th place all night, but he'll never crack the top 5. Like, I really doubt he's going to. This is not a place where he does that. He's pretty like pedestrian and sort of like I can see
his pit strategy
kind of doing the same thing, sort of, where they're running in the top 10 constantly and they're super consistent, but I don't see them being like in the front.
And we want domination.
I see Truex being in the front. I see Larson. I see Hamlin being in the front. Maybe Elliott. Maybe a Blaney too.
Oh my goodness, Blaney. No one's going to have Blaney.
Kyle Busch I see running like 4th or 5th, then the Penske guys I see running just a little bit behind that.
There we go. Now,
is like big on dominators with them.
Dakota's asking, how am I building cash? Dakota, here's my cash game thought for you. Because it's so difficult to predict who might dominate here, I wouldn't mind taking a Denny Hamlin in my cash lineup and then filling out the rest with place differential. What do you guys think?
I have Hamlin in my cash lineup. He's so cheap.
Yeah,
he's one is so freer than free.
He's cheap, and then I just go right to the back of the pile. So for me in cash, I'd go from Hamlin to Reddick, Chastain, Briscoe, Byron, Di Benedetto. This group,
Di Benedetto, I think, just starting like last almost.
Yeah, this group gives you very little downside. They're gonna move up. They're gonna score 40-50. So let everybody else in cash try to figure out which of Larson and Hamlin and Truex and Harvick and all of those guys dominate.
Doesn't that sound right?
Yeah, this is how you cash. You just use these guys. Let everybody else, because the people who predict wrong on those dominators aren't going to be in as good of a position. That's what I think. That's how I would approach it.
Hamlin, the safest bet.
So if I had to, any interesting bets on this one, Brady?
Honestly, man, like, I think there's races capped pretty sharp. I think the lines are good, and if you start betting, I'd have to get a real job if I start betting races that are capped correctly.
We don't want correct capped lines ever. I want to find. I'm only interested in misprices, and that's it.
If you want,
we're not trying to get a real job.
Yeah, like it's a good way to go broke is betting on NASCAR races that are capped correctly. If you want some action, I have a little on Bubba Wallace top 5 at plus 1200, and a little less than that on Ross Chastain plus 5 or top 5 plus 1600. I think those are probably wrong. Bubba Wallace is a top 5 car. It's just a matter of whether or not he adjusts to the racetrack quick enough. And Ross Chastain is just kind of a flyer. He's priced plus like 15,000 to win the race. He should be up in like plus 6,600, but you'll go broke betting on live dogs that won't win. So I think the smarter thing is just to sit back and enjoy this one. I don't see anything I love here.
All right, there it is, guys. All right, that's the breakdown for Homestead Miami Dixie Vodka 400. Taco, Brady, great stuff as always. For everybody who's watching, good luck in the race today. Make sure you're using the Dom station. Make sure you're reading the notes. These notes are awesome. I study the notes over and over. You have no idea. So just know I'm reading your shit and make it good. Right. So I read the notes, super important, and make sure that you just make these lineups with a little bit of game theory in mind, and also a little bit of, outsmarting the field in mind. So good luck this afternoon. Let's crush it as always. Good luck to you, Brady and Taco, and to me, because I'm trying to win this shit myself. But if I can't win, I hope one of you guys do. Until next time.
Peace.
Take it easy.
Luck, man.
Yeah.